Well, I imagine it's going to be more than a minute because it takes a long time to upload videos to YouTube unless I use that, that grainy camera, the 2.2 megapixel camera, because then them files are only like 60 megabytes or something. So, speed, convenience, and again, different setting. But I like this one, and I'm a patient person, so I did it again, didn't I? Alright, the trap of medication. Medication trap, whatever you want to call it. Alright. Please understand that I'm not saying that medication is never used correctly and that there's no use for medication. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. Not one bit. But they are misdiagnosing people, and they are, because of the misdiagnosis, they're prescribing the wrong medications for one section of the problems that we're having. The other problem, is lack of information. You can look it up yourself, but when you're struggling with all of this and everything, and you got the friggin' ambulances and cops, beating on your door, busting in, and hauling you off to the hospital for a minimum of 3 days at a time against your will. You're not thinking about what exactly are my symptoms of this, and how does that relate to this, and what parts of the brains does that affect because of this, and how does this kind of, trauma affect this. You're not thinking of that kind of stuff, but they could take that time that you're in the hospital, and instead of just handing you little doily pictures to color little shapes in for hours at a time, and forcing you to pace around without your clothes, and and if you like to wear a hat, or your hair, hair's all up in your face, it's miserable in there. It really is. It's not fun in the mental hospital unless you know just what to do. You gotta find ways to figure out the staff that they're doing the job correctly, and the staff that really shouldn't be hanging out and messing around with mentally ill humans in a setting like that. And what you do is you fuck with them, and you try to get them to fucking trip out, and you gotta find your entertainment, but you gotta be cool with the other patients, and it's sad that I know the system like that, but it's not my fault. It's that biological birth giver Linda doing drugs when she's pregnant, and wouldn't stop abusing and letting males abuse me. And none of them did any time that I know of. So, the medication trap. Now, I've done a lot of research and a lot of learning and work and continue. I have found out there is no medication to solve, cure, fix, or permanently repair my problem. There's medications for schizophrenia, psychosis, dementia, those kind of things. Honestly, because I've never had a problem with that whole cluster, I can't relate, but I can, personally, but I can empathize. And I don't know what that medication does to those people and changes those people with those mental illnesses. Let's try to adjust my wording here. Okay, so, but you see what I'm talking about. See, I'm over here talking about clusters now. cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3. I'm also obviously familiar with the DSM-V5. But I could learn all this in the hospital years ago. And probably have been on a professional level, and a lot of other people could have been in a lot of better shape by now had they done this. But instead they sitting there handing me quetiapine and other schizophrenic medications, and they want to do the antidepressants, and I'm like, my problem isn't chronic depression. And see if they would have explained all of this and handed me a manual, an instruction book on this, and let me take that time to sit down and read that stuff and work on that in my mind, I'd have probably enjoyed it. First of all, I know because I'm doing it now and I'm enjoying it. But instead they try to put me on antipsychotic medication instead of anti-anxiety medication. And then when they finally started working with the anti-anxiety medication, they still continue to push on that schizophrenia and that. And I'm like, I'm not even in that category. I'm so far from hallucination and delusion. And at this point, even if I did start hallucinating and having problems with delusion, I could probably figure it out just with my self-awareness and redundant analysis, and then start fixing it. And maybe that's why I've never crossed into there. That's an interesting thought. The fact that I didn't just go ahead and give in to their diagnosis of schizophrenia the one time that they misdiagnosed me with it. And I don't understand what they're trying to hand antipsychotic medication, an antidepressant medication, to a person with an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, some bipolar roots, some trouble, some dissociative. I'm not dissociative, or at least not anymore, but it's still there, but I know what it is. And I know how to handle it. And then there's a complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Again, treating symptoms, but there's no cure. Just doing what I'm doing, just staying on it and working on it all day, every day. And then just letting somebody else take care of you for a little while, once in a while, to take a break. So, like I was talking about, the antipsychotic medication and antidepressants to somebody who really just needs some anti-anxiety and something to just get his brain to go click and be quiet for a while so he can sleep. You know what I'm saying? And then they tried lithium. That actually made sense. It's a mood stabilizer, and yeah, that's really what one of my biggest disorders is an emotional disorder. I've got it well regulated, but it takes a lot of work to regulate. But it's a severe disorder, and that's a childhood abuse. A complex, chronic, severe, multiple childhood abuse that went on too long. Thank God I got adopted. I'm telling you. Saved my life and continues to save it on a regular basis. Thank you, Gary and Paula, Mom and Dad. And thank you, God, that I have a life to live. And for everything else involved with it. Alright. Let's take I'm taking a break now, but I'm going to turn the camera off for a minute. See you in a minute. Or hours or days or whatever. Don't you dare have a nice day unless you can or want to. Do what you want.